Everybody around you sees the same thing. You clock in, clock out, return home, maybe grab dinner, maybe scroll a bit before bed. To them, you look ordinary. But quietly, you're engineering something much bigger. An empire that no one will see until it's already too late to compete. Machiavelli would have called this the art of concealment, the discipline of appearing harmless while you consolidate real strength. He warned that a prince is better feared than loved, but he must never be hated. In modern terms, that means you build your fortune in silence, without provoking envy, without broadcasting your moves. You let your results whisper for you later. Every man who has truly risen, from the merchants of Florence to the billionaires of our age, has understood this law. The Medici, for example, disguised their dynasty as humble bankers. Their ledgers appeared mundane, but behind them they controlled papal elections, art commissions, and wars. The most dangerous power is the one that no one suspects. That's what you must become. The invisible force, the quiet architect, the ordinary man no one notices until his influence is everywhere. And so the first rule of getting rich without being noticed is simple. Master the low profile. Appear modest, even average. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, meaning most people confuse symbols for substance. Let them. Drive a car that blends in with traffic. Dress like you earn less than you do. Live in comfort, not display. When fortune smiles on you, don't flaunt it, reinvest it. Because every time you announce your progress, you awaken envy. And envy attracts opposition. The modern man thinks he gains respect through attention, but the wise man knows attention is the enemy of progress. When you get a raise, resist the urge to upgrade everything. The average man spends new money faster than he earns it. The rich redirect it. Keep your outer life constant while your inner world compounds. Power that hides grows faster than power that shows. Every dollar you don't waste on display becomes another soldier in your private army of capital. When you spend to impress, you lose command. When you save to invest, you become untouchable. Now, Machiavelli observed something profound. Fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, you must beat her and strike her down. He meant that fortune, opportunity, only yields to bold action. And in our time, that action is not loud, but strategic. The second step to building quiet wealth is learning the art of flipping money before it decays. Money, left idle, is like a soldier without a mission. It weakens, deserts, and dies. Inflation eats at it day by day. That's why every dollar sitting in a bank account is secretly losing its strength. The wealthy know this. They move their money constantly into assets, ownership, leverage, anything that multiplies. In Florence, merchants sent their ships across the Mediterranean, knowing half might sink, but the survivors would bring fortunes. Today's elites do the same with capital. They invest it before time robs it. You must train yourself to move money with purpose. The moment it enters your hands, it should already have a destination, into an asset that appreciates while you sleep. Real estate, index funds, private business. These are the modern equivalents of those merchant ships. The goal is not to hoard, but to deploy. The poor cling to their cash and watch it fade. The powerful circulate it and watch it return multiplied. And yet, the secret isn't speed, it's precision. Machiavelli would say, he who builds on the people builds on mud. In financial terms, that means don't follow the crowd. Don't chase hype or speculative noise. The masses gamble, the strategist invests. If you master this principle, that money is meant to move from decay to growth, from liability to leverage. You'll start to see the hidden structure of wealth itself. Still, there's a deeper layer to this principle that most ignore. It's not just about where you put your money. It's about where you put your attention. Every moment wasted on comparison or noise is energy lost from creation. The modern man scrolls through others' fortunes while his own potential sits unclaimed. That's why Machiavelli insisted on isolation for clarity. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command himself. In this era, that self-command begins with silence. Financial silence, social silence, and mental silence. Because the moment you broadcast your ambitions, you invite resistance. The moment you share your next move, you surrender leverage. Your power decays in proportion to your exposure. So ask yourself, are you building quietly, or are you performing loudly? Are you letting the world think you're average while your empire grows behind closed doors? Or are you still explaining your goals to people who will never understand them? Because here lies the dividing line between the dreamer and the Machiavellian. The dreamer seeks validation. The strategist seeks victory. But that raises a critical question, one that separates those who accumulate money from those who multiply it. How do you make wealth move for you, silently and automatically, while you remain invisible? The second rule of quiet wealth is motion. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors the bold, but he never meant reckless. He meant those who act with speed and calculation. Your money, like your influence, must never remain idle. Think of it as a loyal army. It must be trained, deployed, and sent to conquer territory that expands your dominion. The difference between the ordinary and the elite is that the ordinary man lets his resources sit still, while the elite moves them with precision. Cash sitting in your account is like an army asleep in the field. It eats, it costs, it weakens. Inflation is the silent thief Machiavelli would have warned against. Men are quick to forget the death of a father, he wrote, but not the loss of their patrimony. Lose money through laziness, and fortune will not return. The smart man flips cash into appreciating assets, property, businesses, funds, tools of production, anything that generates power while his hands are still. Look at how today's billionaires move. When Warren Buffett receives cash from dividends, he redeploys it before it collects dust. When Elon Musk sells stock, he pours it into new ventures. They all practice the same Machiavellian rhythm. No dead money, no dead time. Wealth must flow through channels that gain strength the longer they move. Now, there's another principle Machiavelli hinted at. Concealment of action. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, he wrote, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. This is the art of balance. Strength in execution, stealth in exposure. And that's where digital silence becomes your next advantage. Unless your livelihood depends on attention, unless your business feeds on the algorithm, disappear from the public eye. Stay off the digital battlefield where everyone is performing, because power attracts opposition and visibility attracts weakness. Every photo, every boast, every display of progress is an open door for envy, imitation, or theft. The powerful cultivate mystique. They don't reveal their holdings, their partners, or their plans. They operate like shadows behind the curtain. In the Renaissance, political figures would hide their intentions behind layers of rumor and silence. In our age, the elite do the same. Only through NDAs, private accounts, and corporate veils. They understand that when people can't measure your wealth, they can't manipulate you. That's why you must treat your privacy as currency. Delete the need for validation. Resist the temptation to prove your progress. The man who moves quietly wins twice. Once when he achieves, and again when no one sees it coming. Now let's move to your next lever of power, long-term investing. Machiavelli observed that the wise man does at once what the fool does at last. The fool waits for the perfect opportunity. The wise commit to a plan that compounds silently. In finance, that plan is patience through automation. Forget speculation. That's gambling with fortune's favor. The true strategist builds through systems, index funds, ETFs, recurring investments. When you automate your investments, you're creating a financial army that marches without command. Your money works in silence, every month, every year, buying small pieces of the empire while you sleep. Think of it like this. In Venice, merchants sent dozens of ships to trade across the seas. Some sank, some returned broken. But the few that made it home brought treasures that covered every loss tenfold. That's diversification, a lesson older than any market chart. Modern millionaires follow the same discipline. They don't chase trends or gamble on emotion. They play the long game, steady, unshaken, and unexciting. The average man scrolls for excitement. The elite engineer boredom into profit. Patience, Machiavelli would say, is the armor of the ruler. Your role is not to react, but to command, to decide once and let time obey your decision. And yet, as your systems grow, a new challenge emerges, the boundaries of income itself. A single stream of money, no matter how large, can be taxed, frozen, or disrupted. A ruler with one fortress is vulnerable. A ruler with many cannot be overthrown. That's why Machiavelli advised princes to build multiple fortifications, each independent of the other. The same principle applies to your finances. You must create parallel streams of income, quiet, independent, resilient, because every additional source of cash flow is another fortress guarding your sovereignty. So ask yourself, if tomorrow your main income disappeared, how many strongholds would still stand? How many fortresses are you quietly building while the world sleeps? In the next moments, we'll move into this exact terrain. How to multiply your wealth silently through hidden streams, invisible structures, and the ancient discipline of secrecy that even kings used to preserve dynasties. Now that your foundation is in motion, the next step is expansion, but in silence. Machiavelli taught that the prudent man does not make himself dependent on fortune, meaning you must never tie your survival to one income stream, one employer, one source of cash. Dependence is weakness disguised as security. The wealthy build webs of control, not single threads of hope. So the fifth rule of quiet wealth is simple. Build multiple streams of income. A man who relies only on his job is like a prince who owns one castle, powerful until the first siege. Every paycheck you earn should be planting seeds for another stream. Side hustles, digital assets, consulting, real estate. Each one a tributary feeding your private river of wealth. The modern elite understand this perfectly. Jeff Bezos didn't stop with books. He built clouds, networks, and logistics. The Medici didn't stop with banking. They bought land, art, and influence. The true Machiavellian multiplies his frontiers quietly until his reach becomes invisible but absolute. You can do the same. Start with something small, an online skill, a local service, a rental unit, but build it as if it's the foundation of your empire. Every stream of income should function independently, so if one dries up, another flows. Over time, your wealth transforms from a paycheck into a system. Remember, one income is survival, many sovereignty. And this leads to the sixth rule. Protect your empire through structure and silence. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler must build fortresses to guard his power, yet know when to hide them. In our age, that fortress is legal, an LLC, a trust, a corporate veil. Each one acts as a shield between your wealth and the eyes that hunger for it. The rich don't keep everything under their name. They build labyrinths of ownership so complex that even their enemies can't find the door. When you buy real estate, form a separate LLC for each property. When you start a business, use proper legal frameworks. Not because you expect attack, but because you prepare for it. The Machiavellian mind assumes betrayal as a rule of nature and fortifies before the storm. The Rockefellers, the Waltons, even modern billionaires use the same tactics, privacy and structure as armor. They operate quietly, but behind them stand armies of lawyers and accountants, invisible generals of their empire, and most importantly, talk less. Every time you speak of your plans, you invite interference. Machiavelli warned, never show the wound until you can strike. The silent builder protects his advantage by letting others think he has none. In your personal life, resist the urge to brag, to explain, to prove. Let your work breathe for you. The man who talks too soon trades leverage for applause. Now, the seventh rule might seem unrelated, but it reveals the highest form of power. Give, but give in shadows. Charity done for applause is not virtue, it's marketing. Machiavelli said, men love at their own advantage, not at yours. So when you help, do it without announcement. Anonymous giving protects both your humility and your leverage. It reminds fortune that you command abundance without worshipping it. The greatest rulers knew this. The Medicis funded hospitals and cathedrals anonymously. Even modern billionaires use foundations not for fame, but for influence. When you give quietly, you build unseen goodwill, invisible alliances that last longer than any photo on social media. You strengthen your moral authority without triggering envy. And that brings us to the next frontier, your environment. Because even the sharpest mind dulls among fools. If your circle thrives on noise and attention, your silence will suffocate there. The next step is the most Machiavellian of all, choosing allies who protect your secrecy rather than expose it. Every empire falls not from invasion, but from leaks. One loose tongue, one careless friend, one envious peer, and years of work can vanish overnight. That's why Machiavelli urged princes to keep men of discretion and silence close. You need allies who share your code. No boasting, no oversharing, no validation seeking. Friends who build instead of gossip. The average man wants company. The strategic man wants alignment. Reduce your circle until only those who guard your ambition remain. Quiet people move deeper, think clearer, and stay wealthier. Because in this silent journey, not everyone deserves a seat beside your throne. And yet, there's one final transformation left. The invisible crown of all wealth. Mastering the psychology of adaptation. The art of thinking like a ruler who evolves with every season, who learns faster than the world can change. That's where Machiavelli's final lesson reveals itself. The discipline that turns fortune into legacy. Now that your empire stands guarded by structure, privacy, and discipline, the final step is mastery. Not just of wealth, but of self. Machiavelli believed that fortune changes with the times, and those who adapt prosper. The ninth rule of getting rich without being noticed is to keep evolving quietly. Power is not a possession, it's a process. The moment you stop learning, your empire begins to decay. Surround yourself with people who are curious, not loud. Choose allies who measure success by growth, not by noise. Your circle should be a reflection of your direction. If your friends chase clout, you'll drown in distraction. If they chase knowledge, you'll rise with them. Machiavelli called this the law of proximity, that the quality of your advisors determines the fate of your reign. The greatest rulers in history, from Lorenzo de' Medici to modern CEOs, knew that their real power came from information, not image. So study constantly. Read what others overlook. Learn the laws of money, the psychology of power, the cycles of markets. Warren Buffett reads hours a day not because he's old-fashioned, but because he knows that quiet knowledge compounds faster than capital. Every new insight becomes another layer of defense, another invisible wall protecting your fortune. Avoid the temptation to chase new trends or jump from one scheme to another. The impatient man builds castles on sand. The patient man builds fortresses on rock. The market rewards consistency more than cleverness. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." The same is true for wealth. Money doesn't make you powerful. How you wield it does. You are the foundation, not the sum in your account. And this brings us back to the final paradox. The most powerful men often look ordinary. The true strategist doesn't need recognition. When you walk through a grocery store or stand in line at the bank, no one should sense what you control. The real strength lies in being invisible, in knowing that your independence can't be threatened, your wealth can't be measured, and your peace can't be bought. To the world, you're still the man who goes to work, comes home, lives simply. But behind those closed doors, you're orchestrating your own dynasty. You invest, learn, build, and protect, while everyone else performs for attention. The loud crave validation. The silent build legacies. When you give, do it in secret. When you win, stay calm. When you grow, stay grounded. Because the more you rise, the less the world should know about it. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He warned that men are envious of those who rise above them, yet they despise the humble. The solution is to play both roles, appear humble, live above envy. This is the art of hidden power. It's not just about money. It's about mastering perception. The less they see, the more they assume. The less you explain, the more mysterious your control becomes. Silence is your signal. Patience, your armor. The modern world screams for attention, but fortune whispers to the quiet. So when you find yourself tempted to show off, remember, kings don't announce conquests. They let history do it for them. The greatest victories happen in private. The deal closed quietly, the habit built in solitude, the discipline no one applauds. These are the invisible rituals that separate the wealthy from the restless. And as your empire grows, remember that fortune favors the disciplined, but only remains with the discreet. Protect your time, your peace, and your anonymity as fiercely as you protect your money. These are the true currencies of power. The man who understands this becomes untouchable. His wealth flows, his influence spreads, and his name remains unspoken, because the less they know, the more secure his reign becomes. So as you step forward, remember the final truth. The curb appeal of wealth, the luxury, the spectacle, is the bait. The real treasure is the quiet sovereignty behind closed doors. Build it, guard it, and let no one see how deep it runs. If this philosophy spoke to you, don't stop here. On this channel, every lesson is a hidden Machiavellian law, the kind they teach only in the back rooms of power. Watch the next video, learn the next strategy, and start building the kind of wealth no one can take from you. Subscribe, not for motivation, but for mastery. Because fortune favors those who understand her, and here you'll learn to command her.